Welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Come on to the theatre.
Hello, and welcome along to episode 25 of the Manx Theatre Podcast with me, Neil Callin. Joining me today and helping me celebrate our quarter-century episode are a couple of cast members from the upcoming service plays production of Marian, or The True Tale of Robin Hood. Thank you to everyone who's listened to our previous episodes. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome along and thanks for joining us. In this podcast, we like to try and keep you up to date with what's going on in theatre on the Isle of Man, and to chat to the cast and creatives of upcoming shows to find a little more about the shows and the people behind them. You can still listen to all of our previous episodes through all the usual podcast outlets and at manxradio.com/podcasts. Whilst you're there, make sure to subscribe, give us a like, rate, and leave a little review and share with all your friends. You can also keep up to date with everything that's going on by following Manx Theatre Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and at Manx Theatre Pod on Twitter. Joining me in the studio today are Kristene Sutcliffe and Geoff Pugh from the service plays production of Marian, or The True Tale of Robin Hood. Welcome along.
Hi.
Hello.
Great to have you here today. So we are a week away, pretty much, from the show opening.
Yeah.
Getting a bit nervous now, is it?
Yeah, twitchy a little bit. It's been fine. It'll be fine. Yes, just over a week away.
Brilliant. So tell us all about the play then, for those people who've never heard of it or don't know it.
Well, it's a new play, and the service players have managed to get hold of the rights, and it's a completely new take on an old story. Obviously, we all know the original Robin Hood story. I mean, even, in the last, 30 years, there have been several different incantations of Robin Hood. So this one is a little bit of a different one. It's very current. It's got lots of characters with different feelings about who they are and who they want to be, and lots of sort of non-gender specific characters and relationships in all their shapes and forms.
So you're playing Marian.
I am.
So obviously this is the story of Robin Hood from the viewpoint of Marian then, is it?
A little bit, yeah. I don't want to give too much away, but definitely Robin Hood and Marian are an incredibly close pair.
Take of that what you
Mysterious.
will. So Geoff, and you're playing the world-renowned Little John.
I am playing Little John, yes. And the irony of the name obviously goes with me, given that I'm 6'2" and rather large. But yes, it's as Chrissy says, it's such a new take on what is an old traditional story. All of the character names that people will be familiar with are going to be in this play, with some new ones. But yes, the staples of Robin, Marian, Little John, Friar Tuck, they're all there.
Now this is a 14+ production, so I'm guessing it's a little racy in places.
Yeah.
I think certainly naughty. I don't know whether it's racy.
Yeah.
No.
It's certainly naughty. It's a little bit sort of naughty humour rather
suggestive.
than racy. Suggestive.
It's suggestive and a little... No one's going to be offended.
Yeah.
It's not trying to shock anyone. But there are some themes and subjects that are modern and current, which... 14 is still relatively young.
Yes.
Very young, in fact.
Yeah.
But yes, probably not suitable for less than that. But yeah, it's not offensive, but it's saucy and a little bit naughty in places.
So it's a fun night out though. It's a comedy in itself.
Oh, definitely. It's hilariously funny, and we are still. We've been rehearsing it since we came out of lockdown, really, and we're still laughing just at the ridiculousness of some of the lines and some of the characters, and the kind of the adult themes things. You almost forget, don't you, that that's happening.
Yeah.
Really, adult themes is there's same-sex relationships and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's not really like adult in the sense that there's anything that you wouldn't want to share potentially with a younger person. But
no, you'd quite happily go along with it with your family. There's nothing, if you're a shy, retiring, late teen perhaps who gets sensitive in front of their parents, this isn't anything that's going to really make you squirm in your seat. But it's just a fun family show with a little twist here and there.
Not like Avenue Q then, where it's slightly awkward to sit next to your mother watching it.
I guess it depends on your
I don't know
mother.
if I'd take my mum.
No, I don't know
yeah.
whether. Yeah, having said that now and reflecting on what I've just said.
No, I think you could take your mum, but you maybe just give her a gin first.
Yes, and maybe in a different row.
Yes.
I took my wife to see, my mum to see my wife in Avenue Q, and obviously Emma's up on stage as Kate Monster, and it's like, oh, okay, let's just ignore this scene, Mum. Okay, so looking at the cast list, then we've got quite an array of seasoned professionals and newbies that are in there as well, isn't there? I mean, we've got the likes of Chris Kane, who's been in more service plays than
Everything, I think.
than probably has been, really. And we've got Alex Brindley back on stage as well.
Certainly have.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wonder what he's been promised to get him back on stage. Because obviously Alex
He's allowed to play with a sword.
He is.
So,
and it was a train last time he was on
yes,
stage because I was
train
in
last
Wind in the
time.
Willows with
Yeah.
him. So yeah.
So yeah, that's something else we should say. We've got lots of sort of fight sequences
Brilliant.
that are great fun. So it's like all action as well as all the other stuff.
Exhausting but fun.
It's quite sweaty, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I mean all of them. So by the end of rehearsal, it's especially this time of year, and we've been rehearsing almost exclusively in Oncaneelim, which is not known for its air conditioning. So
It's very warm.
it is very warm and quite sweaty.
But looking at else in the list, you've got Lisa Dancock's there, obviously the seasoned pro of the Manx Operatic Society, and we've got Toby Smith as well.
Toby is utterly hilarious.
Bonkers.
Completely bonkers.
Yeah.
But so funny. I'm not breaking any confidences by saying he's playing Prince John, but he is hilarious, isn't he?
He is. He's very good. He's very good, and I've got Toby to thank really for being back into this after such a long time out. Toby and I were at school together, and we've kept in touch over the years. But when I arrived back on the island in late 2019, and after the first lockdown, it was bumping into him and Lisa, who persuaded me to get back into it, and hence Wind in the Willows last November. But he was just as bonkers when I was with him at school, and he hasn't changed a bit.
I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't. But sorry, that he had changed from teenage Toby.
No, exactly the same.
He still is teenage Toby, really.
Yeah,
isn't he?
yeah, he is.
A teenager's kind of being kind. He's like a 6-year-old often.
Yeah, 10 years too generous.
Yeah, you're right.
He won't mind. Oh, he might, but I don't care.
So looking amongst some of the younger members, then there's Isabel Walker playing Alana Dale. And she was in Blood Brothers a couple of years ago, wasn't she? She played Linda, yeah. So she was fantastic. And we've got Grace de los Santos as well. She was in one of the devised pieces in Theatre Fest a couple of years ago. She was fantastic in that.
Yeah, the younger cast members, I mean, obviously you can go on and name the rest of them, but they are absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And, Manx Theatre, I know everyone always says this, but Manx Theatre is in absolutely safe hands, because these kids coming up are just incredible. Really, really good.
So this show, then, this play is being co-directed, isn't it, by Lisa Crichton and Neil King?
Absolutely.
And this is the first,
the dream team.
Yeah,
Indeed, yeah.
It's the first outing for Neil as well, isn't it?
I believe so.
Well, as a straight play director, I think he's been involved with Centre Stage and a couple of bits helping out. But he was kind of a bit nervous going into this.
Oh, I think he's having a great time, and he's good actually.
Yeah.
He's really, really good.
He loves the details, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's and as I don't think Lisa would mind me saying this either, but she really likes to focus on the performance and on the characters, and I'm sure Neil likes to focus on those things too. But Neil really likes all of the lighting and the design, the set design, and the technical details.
Yeah,
he's all over it. He's with his laptop every time in rehearsal, isn't he? We're getting the sound effects and some of the cues and the music.
Brilliant.
He's all over it. Yeah.
Spreadsheets galore.
Spreadsheets. Oh, you wouldn't.
I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, several.
Oh, yeah. Pivot tables and all sorts. Yeah.
So it's great working with them as a pair then, because each have their own sort of strengths in there that they bring into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa's very much, she knows what she's looking for. Detailed notes after each act, and at the end, which is really, I find it very useful. Knows exactly what she wants, and Neil really sort of flitting around, making sure things are in the right place, right time. So yeah, it's been working great.
Yeah. And it's funny for me because I've directed both of them, and
right.
now they're directing me, and it's fab actually. It's just a real thing about the kind of the theatre family that we've got, that you just kind of can move in between roles and do different things, and nobody's diva-ish or funny about anything.
It was the last Theatre Fest, actually, wasn't it?
It was,
And I was in that cast as well.
yeah.
Yay. Oh, big happy family, isn't it? Great. So, Chrissy, then you went away, didn't you? You went to the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester.
Did. Yeah, I was a proper opera singer for a while, and sort of worked all around the UK and Europe. I've sung a lot of oratorio. I did a lot of oratorio in Europe, and various opera things in the UK as well. So, yeah, I did a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan, and Gilbert and Sullivan is that's where I started, really, with the Manx GNS. My first ever outing on stage was as I think I was 12. And I can't remember whether I was Celia or Layla, but one of the fairies in Iolanthe.
Wow.
So it's weird to think that that's where I started, and then I kind of went away and did so many other things, and then I've come back to the island, and I've got lots of other kind of things that I've done now, and now kind of this is my first straight play in my 40s. Well,
wow.
Apart from at college, so
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Geoff, so how did you get started then? Was it back at King William's College?
It was, yeah. So I was probably in little school productions before that, but it was really sparked at King Bill's. I was picked out fairly early on by the music teacher at the time to go and join the choir. So my start was in the chapel choir as a chorister, travelling all over the UK and Europe. We were very lucky at the time.
Wow.
But then asked to be on stage as well, and first roles, really, I sometimes get them mixed up, but I was in all of the school productions. Which order they came in, I've no idea, but I played willy-nilly in Under Milkwood, Lord Brockhurst in The Boyfriend, and inter-house play competitions. So I directed in my final year there, I directed Blackadder Goes Forth episode.
Wow.
Playing General Melchett. So yeah, that was the formative years, and then came the gap.
We've all got a gap somewhere in there, some of them longer than others.
Yeah, mine was quite long. Yeah, 25 years.
That's a sizable gap, really, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a big gap. I was off gallivanting in the military, and although there were possibly loads of opportunities to get involved in all sorts of stuff, and I did get involved in skits that we did on board ship and in various locations. You wouldn't call any of it a production or a play or a musical of any sort. So yeah, it was really coming back to the island in November 2019 and bumping back into Toby and dragging me back on stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, here we are.
Great, brilliant. So over the years, then obviously you've played lots of roles, Chrissy.
Mm-hmm.
What would you think is your favourite role, or maybe a single role is not one we can pin you down to, but if you give us a ballpark, a small summary.
I think it's always nice to play things at home.
Yeah.
And when I first came back to the island, because I came back when I got married, and I was the first sort of couple of years when I was married, I was doing a lot of travelling to and from, working still, and then I fell pregnant. And I auditioned for The King and I for Taylorian.
Yes.
And sort of the two things happened at the same time. I sort of thought, well, I'm going to stop travelling because you need to be in the right place to do the thing to get the baby, don't you, at the right time. So I stopped travelling, and I thought, well, okay, this is coming up and I'll do this. And it was just so lovely to be back in the Gaiety. I often sort of say to my students, every audition that I've ever done everywhere, in my mind's eye, I've done on the Gaiety stage.
Wow.
So, and always, because you have to kind of, give yourself kind of a nice chance in the auditions, but I've always done it on the Gaiety stage, and it was always lovely. And it was so lovely to come back, and it was so brilliant to do Mrs. Anna for Taylorian. But about 3 weeks before we went into the theatre, my morning sickness kicked in with absolute vengeance.
Oh.
And So yeah, that was all kinds of fun. But it was, especially with two teams of kids, you finish with one team and they're like, right, we'll go again now with the other team. You think, oh my goodness, I'm actually going to die a little bit. But Matt was absolutely brilliant. JC was absolutely brilliant. So I was able to do the things. So that was, I guess that was kind of like a favourite, definitely, and a favourite time in theatre.
Yeah. So you say there about the auditions. I'm sure that you've probably auditioned in some very different places, whether it's been theatres or small back rooms.
Yeah.
And...
Not that many back rooms, Neil, but yeah.
to do it like that.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
There's
you can
the laugh.
sort of, get little rooms and stuff. But yeah.
I had that when I, about 20 years ago, I was auditioning, trying to get myself away to drama school. And I'd been rehearsing with Chris Mabry. He's one of the teachers up at St Ninians. And I'd been rehearsing down at the Manx operatic rehearsal rooms, and I'd been practicing for a big room or a big hall, maybe a theatre. And then one of the auditions I went to, I think it was Roast Bruford, and I was literally in a room that was half the size of this studio, if even that.
Yeah.
And the person who I was doing the speech to was about as close as we are now. So like sort of 6 foot away at absolute most. And they're going, oh, okay, I need to pull this back a little bit then. So Geoff, then I'm assuming you've probably got a more limited range of roles to choose from. But what would you say is your favourite role that you've played in over the years?
From back in the school days, I'd probably say General Melchett.
Yes.
In Blackadder. Most of the roles I was involved with were comedy roles, or the quirky roles, and I think just how we produced that show. This was pre-internet. This was pre-anything really. I remember me and one other guy, we sat in front of the TV in the house room and with the episode that we'd chosen, and we wrote the script by hand by writing it down from the screen.
Pause the video,
rewind, the VHS, and rewind and go again. And how naive and unknowledgeable we were. We then thought, well, we better ask if we can do this, because are we allowed to? And so I wrote a letter to Ben Elton, to ask whether we could use it, just naively. Yeah. And we got a lovely little letter back saying, yeah, great, thanks, off you go. But it was for a competition. It was the Interhouse Play competition, so it was short. But I think that probably was the most enjoyable role because of the setup and the production of it. But I just loved being on stage. It was it was all of the roles were great, but that's probably the one that sticks out.
Yeah, we've spoken with Alex Brindley before. The last time round, was it Blackadder the Third, I think they did, plus the Christmas Carol, and he was saying about how the stage scripts for these shows just don't exist, and what they'd had to do was sort of put the 2 or 3 episodes together and say, right, that's what we're going to do, that's going to be our show for the evening, and then write to Ben Elton and Richard Curtis and say, can we do this as a show? And they come back and go, yeah, fine, crack on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
brilliant. I just hope that there are other shows that we can do like that out there that can put a few things together.
Exactly.
And we were talking with Charlie and Alex on the last podcast, and we discovered that we're all friends of Inside Number 9. And they're about half an hour long.
Yeah,
perfect for a one-night festival, aren't they? So
yeah,
so that'd be great. But I think they're a little bit more guarded about their material.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Although that said, I do have a book of the script. So
well, there we go.
Sounds like a yes to me.
Sounds like a yes.
Absolutely, no legal problems there whatsoever.
What do they always say? Better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's have a look at what else have we got on the list. I say, here we go. What are the best and or worst costumes that you've ever had to wear? Chrissy?
So the best costume, this was actually at college at the Royal Northern, and I had it made for me. There was kind of like a big revival of early music whilst I was there. And I did a show called The Ephesian Matron. It was like a one-act opera, and she's in mourning, this matron, and I just remember there was a guy, Rob Minardi he was called, I haven't thought about him in absolute years, and he was the corpse. And he laid on the slab the whole time. And this Ephesian matron was kind of like wailing and flailing. But the costume was like a sack back dress. It was absolutely the most amazing costume ever. And the wardrobe mistress at the Royal Northern made it to my measurements, and I
Wow.
probably wouldn't fit in it now, but it was very lovely anyway. So, and it was like a widow's weeds and all of that stuff. So not a cheerful costume, but a really grand, amazing costume.
And the worst costume?
I don't know. I always seem to get the bottom of the costume box.
Yeah.
So I've had quite a few bad ones. I think years ago, now you kind of still hire costumes,
Yeah.
but there are better products available now to freshen up costumes.
Yes.
And I think it used to just be they would sort of hang them outside for half an hour.
Yeah.
So any costume that smells already of somebody else's body odour before you put it on would be my worst costume.
Yeah,
and a few of those back in the day.
Yeah, there's a big tick on that one, isn't there?
Yeah.
How about yourself, Geoff?
Well, all of the productions I've been in have been a lot more low budget, low key. I don't think I've had a bad costume or even a good costume. They've all been great. Any day in costume's a good day. I've had some. This costume, I have to say,
Yeah.
It's very hot, isn't it?
it's very hot. I have 3 layers of fur.
Wow.
Not real fur, of course. But yeah, that's it's not a bad costume. It's just a difficult costume. I do remember, and I don't even remember what the play was, but my dear mother, no longer with us, remembers a story and kept on telling it all the way through my adulthood of a time where she had to go and pick up a few bits of costume that I needed for a particular play. And she went into, I think on the end of Prospect Terrace, there used to be a hosiery shop or a clothing shop, and she went in there and
Yes, it's going to be a bra or tights, isn't it? I can feel
it's
it
the
coming.
latter.
Aha,
It's
good,
the latter. And she went in there, and to the lady who I think she knew, and she said, I'm after some tights. Oh, of course, madam. What size do you need? And she went, large, I think. And the lady was like, oh, madam doesn't need large. And she went, oh, no, it's not for me, it's for my son. So, yeah, I don't know whether that counts as a bad costume or a good costume. It felt great. But, yeah, that's probably the most embarrassing costume story.
I remember when I was about 16, I think it was, doing the Peel pantaloons, and Ben Hartley was the dame that year, and he was taken off by his mum into Marks and Spencer's to go bra shopping for him.
Brilliant.
Not the kind of thing you expect to take your son to, is it?
Great.
Although these days.
Yeah, and in this play, indeed.
Indeed.
Yeah, back in the 90s was a different story. Okay, so now the next one here, this is more of a trickier one for some people. This is our gender swap. So which role would you most like to play of the opposite gender?
You're going to have to go first.
Oh, great, thanks. Well, I would say there's probably enough gender swapping in this production to last anybody a lifetime. If I was to play someone of the opposite gender, gosh, I don't know. I haven't got a particular character in mind, but just, a musical with a real belter in it. I think I'm a huge fan of, and not particularly knowledgeable about musicals, but yeah, there's the more powerful voices. I think if I could emulate something like that, and obviously that Chrissy can do anything like that would be
actually
fantastic.
We're talking about musicals with great women's parts in. The Manx Operatic Society have just announced that they're doing Sweeney Todd next year.
Yes.
And Mrs. Lovett is a fantastic part.
Really good.
And I think that was the part that I chose when I chose my gender swap. I think I went for
okay.
Mrs. Lovett because she's got some great numbers. Come on then, Chrissy, what's your choice?
Again, it's like it's a really hard question because there are so many fab male roles.
It's Little John in this play, isn't it?
It is a little bit. I've got Little John envy. Well, I mean, there is gender swap that I am potentially privy to for this play, so that's good. But I don't know. It's so hard. I mean, there's so many great male roles. I mean, Jean Valjean, or Phantom, or I can't think of his name, Adam in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Yes.
I think that's a great one because he
yes.
just gets to kind of storm around and be an absolute not very nice piece of work, but then we all love him in the end.
Yes. A lovable rogue.
So, yeah, anything lovable rogue You know,
Yeah.
that'd be quite good.
Nothing too drippy.
Oh, definitely not drippy.
No.
No, can't bear Mr. Cellophane. Always want to be Billy Flynn. Sorry, dude.
I loved Mr.
I know.
Cellophane.
I know. It's just a character that I can't get my head around. You know, I like a strong man.
Brilliant. Okay, so the Spotify playlist then. This is something that we set up about a year ago now. It was just after we came out of the first lockdown, and we decided that we would use Spotify and we would set up the ultimate musical theatre playlist. So Neil and I both put 10 songs in because 10 songs each, 20 songs is a better starting point for a playlist than 2 songs. And then from each podcast that we've had since then, we've asked our guests to add a song to the playlist. So some of the highlights that we have are... Well, Emma Callin chose West Side Story Overture because she wanted the song from West Side Story but couldn't decide which one and thought, well, the Overture, it's an old-fashioned
Kind of
overture.
covers them all.
It has them all, yeah.
Yeah.
What else have we got? We've got Being Alive, that was Perry O'Day from Company. Chloe Shimon chose Tight Connection to My Heart from The Girl from the North Country. Nikki Openshaw chose You Will Be Found from Dear Evan Hansen. Tim Keyes chose Younger Than Springtime from South Pacific. And in our last episode, Charlie Williams chose From Now On from The Greatest Showman. And Alex Armstrong chose Children Will Listen from Into the Woods.
Some crackers on there, isn't there?
There are some absolute
Wow.
belters on that list. So, Chrissy, Geoff, who wants to go first?
Ladies first.
So mine, when I was thinking about this, I wanted something to kind of represent a little bit about why we're here and a little bit about, you know, the Robin Hood Maid Marian story that we're putting on next week. But then also I thought about representing all of us. So I chose I Am What I Am from Cajou Fall because I think we're all a little bit bonkers in this world of theatre. You know, anyone who wants to dress up and pretend to be somebody else has got to have a screw loose a little bit. So yeah, that's my choice, and it's for all of us nuts.
What marvellous. Do you know, just once, 1 year, I want someone to come on the Songs from the Shows class in the Guild in full fabulous drag and sing that.
Oh, wouldn't it be fab?
Brilliant. Geoff, what's your choice?
Well, I did have a look at the playlist, and there are just so many to choose from, including the ones that you've said. But I suppose I'd pick something that I've seen more recently and loved, and I'm hoping it's not on the list. I didn't see it, although I did see another song from the same show. But it'll be You'll Be Back from Hamilton.
Yeah, that's not on the list, so brilliant.
The King George song. It's just the Jonathan Groff version from the recording.
Original broadcast, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's incredible anyway, but that particular version is great. It encapsulates my humour. It encapsulates my musical taste, and yeah, great song. Love it.
It is, and it's such a change of pace in the whole show when he comes on.
It's like nothing else in the show, is it? Yeah.
No. Okay, so we are then just over a week away from opening. So it's the 8th, 9th and 10th of July.
Right.
Yeah, with the Gaiety Theatre. Mm-hmm. It's evening performances only because of the fact that it's a 14 plus. Tickets are obviously on sale now.
That's right. So Villa Gaiety or 600 555 and the Welcome Centre and all the usual outlets.
Brilliant.
Come and see us. You'll have a great time.
I'm looking forward to it. I need to get my ticket sorted. Right. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
And I wish you all the very best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast with Neil Callin.
And with that, we bring episode 25 to a close. Thanks once again to Chrissy and Geoff for joining me on the podcast and telling me all about the Service Players' upcoming production of Marian, or The True Tale of Robin Hood. Remember to like and follow our social media pages to get notifications of upcoming episodes and events. Don't forget to check out our Spotify playlist by searching for Manx Theatre Podcast. If you have any events that you'd like us to talk about or promote in a future episode, you can contact us through our social media accounts or by email to manxtheatrepodcast@gmail.com. All that remains is for me to say thanks for listening, and I hope you join me again next time on the Manx Theatre Podcast. I've been Neil Callin. Goodbye.
The Manx Theatre Podcast, taking a look behind the scenes of Manx Theatre.
And happier than actors alive for me.